Hey, good evening, everybody. John here with FNP Wargamers. This is the FNP Evening Edition. It is Wednesday. God, I hope it's Wednesday. It better be Wednesday, or my days are totally out of whack. So today, or this evening, we are going to continue on our reviews of RPGs, and tonight we are going to be talking about Tales from the Loop. One of the particular reasons why I wanted to focus on Tales from the Loop is that this RPG came out about 2 years ago. Well, now almost 3 years ago. Well, the Kickstarter was about 3 years ago. It was actually released about 2 years ago. Very successful Kickstarter. It's won a number of the ENnie Awards. They're essentially awards for RPGs and brand new games and everything that has come out. This Kickstarter was set up, I think it was mid 2017, and their goal was, I'm going to use US dollars, not, I forget how to pronounce the Swedish currency, but they were looking for $10,000 US to get this project up and running, which is actually a very good a good range for an RPG. Now they ended with a very successful Kickstarter, probably one of the best for an RPG. Now, and like board games are usually incredibly higher, but the Tales from the Loop, they managed to secure 367,000 plus US dollars for this project. So was that 36 times the amount that they were going for? So very successful Kickstarter. And the RPG, as soon as it was released, it hit the ground running, won a lot of awards, won over a lot of critics and a lot of people that are used to more dungeon crawl, the type of games where you're fighting monsters in the dungeons or hunting down vampires. Maybe you like those type of games where you're fighting aliens in the deep, dark depths of space, or being chased down by stormtroopers in the Outer Rim. Whatever your game type is, this was a big, far deviation from it because it's not about combat and having special powers and weapons and abilities and all that stuff. This game is centered around you being a kid. And we're going to go over this game in detail. We're going to watch the trailer for the TV show, which is the other reason why I wanted to talk about this RPG, is because there was basically a stealth project out of nowhere. We got the announcement late February, I think around February 27th. On Amazon Prime, Tales from the Loop got their trailer for their TV show that is going to drop on April 3rd, which I believe is next a week from this coming Friday. So it's a really cool and exciting time because it's very rare you see an RPG get turned into a TV show, especially a tabletop RPG. Now, video game RPGs have made it, some successful, some not so successful. Dungeons and Dragons tried some very tried, and I got to give it to them. They tried to make a couple movies, and they tried to get some big names to do it, and they flopped. Unfortunately, it was a great start. I would love to see a major production company now try to tackle it with all the advances in technology for green screening and computer graphics. I would love to see it, especially once we see the success here. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to give a couple more minutes for people to jump on, and then we're going to cover the Tales from the Loop. I hope you guys are going to like this. Now, what I will need from you guys and gals is if when I play the video, if you get a bunch of weird feedback, you got to let me know right away, because I am going to turn the volume off on my microphone, so I think that will solve the feedback issues I was having. But just in case, I want you guys to just jump on the chat and say, whoa, yo, turn off the volume or whatever. And then we'll just have to make do without without the video. I hope you guys will like it. I'm really hoping that the show comes out really well. It looks like there's going to be 8 episodes. The first one, like I said, is on the, well, actually, if it's like everything else Amazon Prime does, everything will be released right off the bat. Now, Amazon Prime has not, to my knowledge, they have not put out a bad TV series yet. All of them have been hits, some more than others, but I have not seen anything bad yet. So you guys, I'm really hoping that they'll pull this off, because the success of Stranger Things is kind of, I think, might have what helped propel this. Now, where Stranger Things is the embodiment of kind of the 80s horror, the Tales from the Loop is centered around the strangeness of the sci-fi. Oh yeah, Nam just said I enjoyed The Boys a lot. I did too, and I'm looking forward to season 2. Very brutal series. I totally just blew my mind. I love the fact that they pushed the boundaries of conventional shows, what we're used to, and that's what I'm looking forward to with Tales from the Loop. So let me. I'm just showing you guys some of the artwork. Now, this all came from the minds of Simon Stalenhag, and I might be putting a little bit of wrong emphasis on pronouncing his name, but it's a Swedish gentleman that came up with the project, the whole background, the artwork, everything. And Nils Hitzenzel. Oh man, I'm just wholly butchering these names. Yeah, came up with the mechanics. The mechanics are based off of the Mutant Year Zero RPG, which is another fantastic RPG that got turned into a top-down strategic video game using the same engine as XCOM. So it's another one of those that I would recommend taking a look at. It's a game that we will kind of feature in the future. I don't know what our next one is going to be. It very well could be Mutant Year Zero. So let's get on with the trailer, and then we'll talk about the TV show, and well, actually, we'll talk about the video game or the RPG itself, and continue on. And you guys can all be excited if you've watched the trailer. Fantastic. Now, like I said, I see a bunch of people have jumped on. If you get some weird feedback, let me know right away, and we'll just stop the video. I think I fixed it, but let's find out. So I'm going to turn off some things here, and let's get this rolling.
Not everything in life makes sense.
Sorry about the sound. I hopefully got it fixed now.
What do you do?
When someone says something's impossible, I prove it's possible.
One day, many years from now, you'll wonder if this really happened. Or if it was a dream.
Everyone is connected to the loop in one way or another.
See, there's nothing to be afraid of.
All right. Sorry about the volume there, folks. I had hoped that that everything would have worked out just fine. I guess I'll have to run a couple more test runs for the or for running videos and stuff in the background. So I apologize that the volume is bad. Just Google the Tales from the Loop trailer and you can watch it in detail. You can zoom in on a couple, or at least make it big screen, and take a look at some of the imagery that's going on, some of the things that are going on in the background that, I mean, even after I've watched this now 3 times, I'm still catching little tidbits as we go. Like the girl that was standing on top of the car, I didn't even realize that all around her time had stopped. So go back, watch it a couple times, watch it in detail, and pay attention to the little hidden aspects of this. Now we're going to go into a lot of what this is, what you're seeing in this trailer, what you're going to see in the TV series, and what you're going to see in the RPG. Now, like I mentioned before, this is not like your typical RPGs where you are battling monster of the week, you're dungeon crawling. This is not loot and shoot. You're not battling for your the fate of the galaxy. Well, maybe. But it's not about your gear or your magic spells or your psychic abilities, superpowers, laser rifles, whatever, that you're used to from regular RPGs. This is about you as a child growing up in this alternate history of the world where technology is a lot more advanced. As you saw, you get the robots and magnetic vehicles that fly around on essentially magnetic discs. Technology has leapt forward dramatically, but it's still set in the 1980s. So you still have the music, the TV shows, the movies, that the Cold War is still going on. It just has this technology set in the backdrop, and this is about you as children encountering the different mysteries, just like we see in the TV shows and movies out there that we're used to, like the Goonies, Gremlins, Stranger Things, and how the kids interact and try to solve these mysteries and everything else that's going on around it and the troubles that accompany it. And also day-to-day life. Day-to-day life, your parents, teachers, those type of things, they can actually interfere or help you in the game. Now, the problem with adults is that adults just don't get it. They are disconnected from the mysteries because once they got to a certain age, you kind of have this disconnect. And that's why there's so much emphasis on you playing kids in this game. Now, this book is broken down into 12 different chapters. There are a couple other books we're going to talk about, but this is the main one. This is all you need. The Welcome to the Loop is very much like your traditional introduction to the game itself, how to play role-playing games, what is a role-playing game, what the dice are, and examples of what the game is like. So even if you've never played a game before, this is a way for you to kind of get a good feeling. They even put some examples in there so you can go, oh, that's what you mean by running a scene or having an encounter, how they roll their dice. That's what all this means. It's a great reference tool. I highly recommend everybody read it. Whether you're an experienced game master or gamer, player, whatever, still read it because you're playing a different type of game. So go ahead and read over it and you'll get a very good you'll start getting that feel for this RPG. Now, this might not be up your alley. I'm going to highly recommend that you give it a try because it is by far different than anything you've ever played. This could eventually help you play other games because you play your favorite game over and over again. Play Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Infinity, Starfinder, over and over and over and over again. Start new characters, the same thing over and over. You kind of get yourself into a rut. So by playing the games like Tales from the Loop or another one that we're going to be covering in the future. I'm not going to The Invisible Sun. I'm not going to go into it right now because it's a very difficult game to even play, but they can help you at least break the monotony. And when you come back, you can actually maybe come back to your favorite games like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, and such, and be able to play it a little bit better, have a different perspective, have a little bit more fun, be a little bit looser in it. Okay, so enough about that. It's a great tool or a great game for you and your family. If you've got kids, this is actually ideal. You could actually, this is not an overly complicated game to play. I would definitely recommend that the kids be probably around 11, 12 years old. They'll have a little bit better concept of how to do things. But this is an excellent opportunity for you as adults to delve back into what it's like to being a kid. And so we're going to go over that. Age of the Loop is the second chapter they've got. And this really expands upon the timeline from the 1950s up till now, or their present timeline, the 1980s, what has happened with technology, how it intertwines with our real world history, the Cold War, the end of World War II, going into the Vietnam War, Falklands War, and all that jazz, and how it integrates with the Cold War, the United Nations, everything that's going on. And this game is initially set in Sweden, the Marlin Islands to the west of Stockholm. It is primarily about being in Sweden, but they have chapter 3, which I'll kind of briefly go over. It is the US loop. So if you want to include, if you don't want to do Sweden, you want to do the US, they have an alternate setup for you. And in one of the other books, we're going to go over how to do it in your favorite hometown. Now, the Age of the Loop also goes into a lot of detail about technology, a lot of the troubles that have happened during the Age of the Loop and what the loop is. And some of you might have been wondering, what is the loop? The loop is essentially the world's largest particle accelerator. And from that particle accelerator, that's where all this technology and leaps and advancements in technology and science has come about. And very much like our Hadron Collider right now, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Essentially, that is what it is. And where it's taken us, we've not really found a whole lot of breakthroughs in Tales from the Loop. They actually had a number of breakthroughs from the 1950s up till now. So that is essentially what it's fallen under. Now, the U.S. Loop, going to chapter 3 real quick, the U.S. Loop takes place in Boulder City, Nevada. It's near Hoover Dam. Is it Hoover Dam? Yeah, Hoover Dam. I think it's west of Hoover Dam, or it might be north. It's near Hoover Dam. Let's just go with that. Still set in the 1980s. It is the sister loop of the one in Sweden. And that chapter essentially lays out just like the regular, how it says it set up in the Age of the Loop. You still got your timeline, you got your maps, locations, people of note, personalities that your kids might interact with, that sort of thing. So that is essentially the backdrop if you want to do the US Loop. It is not as in-depth as Chapter 2, the Age of the Loop, which really focuses on Sweden, but you can pull the background information from that chapter and it fills in the blanks. Now, we're going to talk about the kids because you are playing a kid in this RPG. I'm going to jump screens real quick here and we're going to talk about the kids. Sorry about got things cut off there. Tales from the Loop character creation is actually a very interesting design. You're really going to be pushing, really kind of testing your limits on the type of kids or type of characters you're going to be playing. Now, you're all going to be human. That is just the nature of this game. Now, you need to think back to the 80s. So if you need to watch some of your old TV shows like the A-Team, Knight Rider, Punky Brewster, Silver Spoons, Gremlins, Goonies, those sort of things. Watch those to kind of get that feel for what these kids are, what it was like to be a kid in the 80s. Real Science, Weird Science, My Science Experiment. There's a lot of those out there that are really awesome, that really help connect you to the setting. Or just watch Stranger Things, you're there. All right, so you're already a human being. Nothing you can do to change that. You're going to pick your type. This is kind of like your character class, your profession, whatever it is you want to call it. You have the bookworm, the computer geek, the hick, the jock, the popular kid, the rocker, the troublemaker, and the weirdo. Kind of fitting all those cliques that you had in high school and junior high and grade school. You know, everybody, well, not so much grade school, but definitely middle school and junior high. Everybody kind of fit into this trope, if you will. Now, each of these have their own unique skills that they get, that it's their primary skills that they're good at. Like the bookworm, very good at investigating. The popular kid, a lot of charm, has some leadership abilities. The troublemaker is good, kind of like, I would say, being sneaky and able to a little bit more physical than, say, the computer geek, which is very good with technology. So each of them have their own strengths. There are some overlaps, but each of these kids has at least one skill type that separates them from everyone else. There are some, like I said, that overlap, like the troublemaker and the popular kid. They have leadership ability, where the weirdo and the troublemaker both have the sneak ability. So they, like I said, they all have their own individual feel to it, but there is some overlap. And when you guys are sitting down to make characters, I highly recommend, and they highly recommend, that you guys sit down together as a group and do this together, because you're forming your clique, your group of friends, just like when you were a kid, or just like in Stranger Things, those four main kids and how they came together. So it is really, I want to emphasize that you guys sit down, don't do it on your own, sit down as a group and do this. Now, you're going to see, you see right here, it says choose your age between 10 and 15 years old. That is the age range for your characters. And this is significant because the younger you are, the luckier you are. Now, the older you are, the more physically fit you are, mentally, physically, everything else. You're a little bit more advanced, I guess, the best way to describe it. Now, once you hit 16 years old, that's it. Your character is essentially retired. Now, it doesn't have to be permanently. We'll get into that at the end. But there's no way around it for Tales from the Loop. You are essentially, you pretty much are now disconnected from all this stuff that is going on. You're in that age period where you know it all. You're becoming a man or a woman. You're horny. You're looking for your future, everything it is to be an older teenager. So you know, everything about the mysteries and the troubles that are going on, you are now disconnected. Think about Stranger Things and how those adults or the older kids are like, whatever, what's going on here? And we'll get into why you pick your age range here in a minute. Now, you're going to assign attributes. Everybody's got a body, tech, heart, and mind. They should be relatively easy to figure out what those mean. Body is your physical, tech is your scientific knowledge or your tech knowledge, heart is your emotions, dealing with kind of like your charm and whatnot also, and your mind is your intellect. Now, however you arrange your points in each of these determines how good you are in them. Like, so if you have a lot of points in body and a couple points in mind and heart and tech, but more in body, that means you're going to be physically stronger, more fit. And what these points are telling you is that is how many dice you are going to roll to see if you have any successes. And now, when you roll dice in this game, let me back up a little bit. When you roll dice in this game, you are going to roll 6-siders equal to your attributes, That's your body, your tech, heart, and mind, and your chosen skills. Now, there's other ways to add on some more dice, but once you get your pool of dice, any roll of a 6, it means it's success. So the more dice you can roll, the better off you are. Now, most things that you're going to do requires just a roll of a 6, 1 6 out of all your dice. That's usually the most average thing that you're going to do. The most difficult thing you're going to do is going to be able to, you're going to have to roll up to 3 dice. Or 3 6s out of your dice pool. That is the most difficult it will ever be for you. So that's just something to take into consideration when you're building your character, how they are physically, mentally, and then what they're very skilled at. The other thing you're going to get is luck points. Now, like I said earlier, the younger you are, the more luck you have. And the older you are, the more physically developed you are, but less lucky. Now, that luck can be used to, you can burn a point of luck. By burn, you can just use a point of luck in a scene, or if you're involved in an action, you can use that luck point to re-roll a dice. So it could be the difference between a failure that could cause you or somebody else harm, or obviously just fail, and being very successful. The way you determine your luck, and this is where your age comes into play, you subtract your age from 15. So as I said, if you're age 10 and you subtract that from 15, you have 5 luck. If you're 15 years old and minus 15, you have 0 luck. So there are those benefits to being younger and older. All right, we're getting through this. Pick your iconic item. Your iconic item is something that you are well known for. It's your skateboard. It could be your collection of books. It could be your favorite guitar. A toy lightsaber. It could be pretty much anything. They give you plenty of examples with the character creation as you're looking at each of the different templates, the different types. So they have a variety of ones for you to choose from, or pick your own. You have to let your game master know what it is that you're choosing. Choose your problem. The problem is something that your character is experiencing. Maybe he's being bullied, or her parents are going through a divorce, or maybe you're sick or something like that. This is a problem that can be woven into the story that the game master can use to challenge you later on. And if you can overcome it, you can get awarded for overcoming that problem later on. You pick yourself a new problem, and it helps your character grow. So it's just it doesn't necessarily help you. It's not a special ability. It's just a story tool that the game master and you can use to help push the story forward. Same thing with your drive. This is what drives your character. What is your motivation for doing anything? This is a key thing that will come on during gameplay, and the game master or GM can use it to help direct your character. If you're feeling a little skittish about doing something, he can go, you know what? Remember, your drive is you charge headlong into a fight, whether you're going to lose or not. And so that's one of those things. Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to power forward. Choose your pride. Pride is another one of those things. There's a lot of examples. I'm not going to go into them too much, but here's an example. Pride for, say, a troublemaker. I stood up to a teacher, and it was just a kind of a prideful thing that makes them feel, I'm pretty badass. And it's not necessarily that you're going to be going, well, you know what? I remember that I stood up to a teacher once, and I'm going to use that to stand up to this robot. No, it's not. That's not necessarily how that works. But you can use that as kind of like your source of pride, and you can use that to replace dice rolls. It basically gives you another attempt to roll a dice. You can only use it once per session, but it's an extra little bonus ability that helps establish your character and when you need that bonus dice for that situation. So there are lots of little tips and tricks to get bonus dice to be successful in this game. So continuing on with character creation, we're almost done with character creation. Then we'll get into the rest of the book and the follow-on books. Now, define your group relationships. This is how each of your characters, and this is a great time when you guys are sitting down together to talk to each other about, well, we don't get along too much, but him and I are best buds. The reason why his character and I don't get along is because we're both in love with her, and she is actually in love with him. And it's something that's going to help out the story during the game, and it's a way for the game master to throw in conflict and essentially trouble that can hinder you. I know it sounds a little ridiculous, but it's really, it helps. If you think about Stranger Things and the Goonies and everything else, everybody kind of had their favorite friend that they would stick with. Even though they were a group, people would be together a lot, especially in like season three of Stranger Things. A couple of the kids were always hanging out. Eleven and Mike were always making out, that sort of thing. So it's the relationships are important for the overall game. An anchor is who do you go to when you're messed up? This is who you run to. I know a lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I walked 20 miles in the snow that was 6 feet deep, and I never cried or did anything. Bullcrap. You skinned your knee, you ran to your mom or your dad. You got hurt, or you got beat up or something, or you're really scared about something. You go to your parents or your grandparents or brother, sister, whatever. You had somebody that you could go to, somebody that was your support, that would take care of you, that would guide you and everything. So that's what the anchor is. This is your character's connection to an adult. So during the course of gameplay, and we'll be going into that in just a little bit, you can become injured, or you can basically suffer status effects or conditions that are detrimental to your character. And the only way that you're going to be able to repair that is your anchor. So we don't have magic. We don't have, nano machines that can repair your body, that sort of thing. We're not dealing with anything like that. No psychic abilities or magic wands, whatever. You are a kid. You got to run to mom and dad or grandma, grandpa, aunt and uncle, whatever, for help. And that's what the anchor is. So the last parts are choose a name, that's typical, and physically describe yourself and what's your motivations as a character. The last couple parts, I kept that separated because I wanted to make sure you guys understood the separation part. This next part is definitely a group thing. You're going to design and describe with your group your guys' hideout. This is your base. This is where you guys go to hang out. Like in Goonies, they had that one kid's. I think the kid's name was Mike. They had his house to go to. I can't remember the kid's name in Stranger Things, but they had that little fort outside of his house. So that's basically this is your base. This is where you go. That abandoned barn, that's your guys' hangout. That's your base of operations. And then a Q&A with your GM. This is really the final sit down when you guys make your characters to flesh out each other characters and the group itself. What's going on in the world? What are your troubles? What are your problems? And that way he or she could take the notes, and then when it comes time to start the game, they've got this essentially everything written down that they can lean back on and go, okay, well, I need to improvise here. You guys are well off the beaten path. What am I going to do? Oh yeah, your character is like this, so let's get this involved here. Remember that time that you got caught shoplifting? There's the cop. He just catches you guys, that sort of thing. There's all sorts of things that you can do with that Q&A, and they've got a lengthy list. So let me back up here. So that is character creation. That is the kids. You are 10 to 15-year-old kids, and you are experiencing life in the 80s with all this advanced technology. Now, the next chapter that they got after character creation is called Trouble. Trouble is the encounters that you're going to have with, could be with adults, robots, dinosaurs, aliens, whatever it is that you're encountering. It could be, how are you going to sneak out of class? Because you guys are going to go investigate something. How are you going to sneak out of the house? How are you going to bypass the local sheriff that's looking for you? That sort of thing. This is essentially your skill checks, your combat, everything that you need to do. That is what the Trouble is all about. And it's a very, I would say, it's about a 10 pages of everything on how to use your skills during a Trouble. Items and pride, which I was talking about, is like your iconic item is something that you can add 2 extra dice rolls to. Like I said, maybe your skateboard is your iconic item. So that's something that if the situation warrants it, like maybe you guys are being chased by the guy that just broke into your house and you guys are trying to run away from him, and you've got your skateboard and you use it to whack the guy in the junk. That gives you 2 extra dice rolls or 2 extra dice to your pool to hit him, increasing your chance of success. I mentioned the pride. Pride is another one of those things that you can do once per mystery. And I mentioned that it was an extra reroll. I was wrong. It is, I remember now, it is a automatic success. So once per adventure, or what they call a mystery or a story. It's called mysteries, but it's like your story, your adventure, your campaign session, whatever. It is essentially, you can use this once per session, or once per mystery, once per story, to get an automatic success. You can use it after you failed a roll, or even after a success to get more successes. And the more successes, by the way, that you get on your attempt, actually you can get special effects, like, hey, I just got a whole bunch of one of their examples here I'm looking at. They've got 3 successes when they were fighting against his brother. He can buy a bunch of effects and humiliate him and do some extra damage, that sort of thing. So there are basically, it's not just getting a simple success. The more successes you get, the more fun you can be having with this. Now, you got to remember, and I said this earlier in the beginning, is that you need to take time to make sure every player has an opportunity to do something. So once you say, this is what I'm going to do, stop. Let your other players get involved. Don't tell them what to do. Let them get involved and say, this is what I want to do. This is what we're going to do, or he or she, whatever. Give them the opportunity. Don't talk over them. Don't interrupt. Give them the opportunity to play. Everybody deserves a space at the table and time in an action scene to do something. You've got to make sure that you do that. Some players kind of go above and beyond that and are not bullies in a sense, but sometimes kind of push their way through and kind of talk over other people. It's really annoying. All right, so we're getting close to done. We're going to speed up here real quick. I'm going to talk about the mystery. The mystery is, this is your story. This is it's the scenario for the kids or the players to play in. It's like your comic book, your TV episodes. It's the movie that you're kind of reenacting, that sort of thing. This is the story that the kids are involved in. Once you get the kids introduced to the scene or into the game, what is it that triggers the mystery to happen, and how do they solve this mystery? What are the steps that they're going to follow through? Now, they do a very good job of explaining how the mystery is laid out, individual and group scenes. They give a lovely breakdown of several different phases of essentially what a mystery is. Some of this you'll be able to look past as you've after your first couple game sessions, like I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of how they talk about running a mystery. So introducing the kids, you are introducing the mystery. Then the lengthier part is solving the mystery, the final showdown, the finale of that episode or that mystery, the aftermath of it, and then any change. And now the change part is, well, I'll get to change in a second. The aftermath is, well, exactly what you expect. What happened? What's the fallout from you guys set fire to this research facility? What's the fallout for a bunch of kids setting fire to a research facility if you got caught? And how, not only immediately after, but if you're playing this as a campaign, how does the entire events of this mystery play into the backdrop of the rest of the campaign and the surrounding area as you continue on with your characters? Now, continuing on with the characters, that is where you have the change, and that's the kind of the last part of solving the mystery is, did your characters undergo some sort of change? Did they grow as an individual? And this is where you get your experience points and can pick up new skills, new pride, or not new pride, but new iconic items, that sort of thing. Boost your attributes, maybe even get a little older, that sort of thing. Depending on how the timeline goes. Other things I've talked about in the mystery section is basically how you're running the game, setting the mood. You guys really got to give the GMs, the game masters, time to set the mood for the game, the scenery, everything that's going on, the backdrop. They're the ones that run the non-player characters, the NPCs, the items that you can get in the game. And of course, the bigger mysteries and how they tie into the overall campaign. So that is essentially how you're going to be running this game. Now, the mystery landscape, that next chapter, is essentially a number of locations that you can go to, like the schoolhouse, the factory, the haunted or the supposedly haunted house, maybe the abandoned research facility that the kids came across. They're just examples of different locations that you can use to flesh out your game. Or if you want to make up your own mysteries or your own locations, excuse me, I apologize, you're able to do it. Basically what they're saying is the other way, the mystery landscape is basically, it's kind of like a sandbox environment. So if you don't necessarily have a mystery, or you're in between sessions, or your players are way off the beaten path, way off the story, that's another way to get them involved, keep them involved in the game and be able to improvise when they do go off script. It happens. They're not forced to do stuff in your game. If they don't want to go down that dirt road in the middle of the night when the fog is rising, and they hear all the creepy sounds, they don't have to. They can get on their bikes and pedal their little butts right back home. Like, nope, we're not doing that. We've seen that movie. We know what happens. They can do that. And that's where these mystery landscapes can really come in handy. You can use these to really kind of not necessarily get them back on path, but deal with these situations to so now, like, your carefully laid out plans that you've came up with for tonight's adventure, tonight's session are all just dashed. Well, you've got these backups, and that's where the sandbox kind of mentality comes into play. It's really there for to maybe get them back on track, but to deal with these little interruptions. Now we're near the end here. The 4 seasons of Mad Science, it's basically just a brief chapter to talk to you about the following chapters, 9, 10, 11, and 12. These follow-on chapters are full-on mysteries that they can be separate, or they can tie into each other. And it is if you are worried about coming up with your own adventure, your own mystery, let's just make sure we use that terminology, your own mystery, you can use the 4 seasons of the Mad Science to carefully lay out your own mystery, or just use theirs and get through your first session with or not your first session, but your first campaign mystery with your players. And if everything goes great, then you can go on from there and make your own. It is definitely a useful tool for you to have. All right, so that is essentially Tales from the Loop. Now, we're not done yet. Let me continue on here. Now, if you get through Tales from the Loop, you get through the 4 seasons of Mad Science, and you are craving more, or it's not that seasons of the Mad Science, the 4 seasons of Mad Science don't tickle your fancy. You want something else? We have other options. Well, not we, but the guys at Free League Press have some other options for you for Tales from the Loop. We're going to cover that right now. All right, we have 3 different supplements that you can choose from. There's Out of Time, Our Friends the Machines, and Things from the Flood. So I'm just going to briefly go over these. Things from the Flood really deserves its own review instead of kind of a glaze over. So I'm going to hold off on most of that for then. So Out of Time, it's focuses on mainly the late 80s going into the 90s. They have their own trilogy campaign involved in there. A bunch of new secret places for you to get involved in. I think there's 8 or 9 secret places to throw into the sandbox, throw into your environment for when those players go off the deep end, or you forgot to prepare tonight's session, so you need to go way off the beaten path and go full improv. That's what these secret places are great. They have a whole bunch of stuff for mysteries and mixed CDs, which is basically how you tie in. Well, there is a lot of tie-ins with music and stuff in here, but it's essentially mysteries that are linked to music, and you'll just have to see that for yourself. Well, maybe we'll focus on that on a future episode. Our Friends the Machines, 3 standalone campaign settings are in there for their mystery. 3 standalone mystery campaigns. New mystery mixtape. And I love, if you're seeing these correlation between the 80s and 90s, the mixed tapes, the mixed CDs, blueprints for a variety of robots that you can inject into the game. And remember when I was talking about in the beginning that the game is based around a small island in Sweden, or in Las Vegas, or not Las Vegas, Nevada, but Boulder City, Nevada. If you want to play this game in your favorite hometown, wherever it is that you are, you can use this hometown hack section, which is very lengthy, very in-depth, to essentially establish a loop in your hometown. And it gives you a wonderful in-depth walkthrough on how to do that, from everything from the science part and the history all the way down through locations, NPCs, and mysteries, and basically helps you lay out a logbook, if you will, to prepare your group for your guys' essentially your homebrew Tales from the Loop for your hometown location. So I think Our Friends the Machines is probably the better of those 2 books, Out of Time and Our Friends the Machines. The Out of Time is just a help along book, but the Our Friends the Machines, I think there's a lot more in there that as a supplement. But that's my opinion. You might not care about that. You might want all those extra things that you're getting out of the book Out of Time. Now, we're going to talk about this. Is the last thing we're talking about, and we're going to have to do a future show for this one because it is a very lengthy one, and it's slightly different. Things from the Flood, and that's that image in the background you're seeing there. This is your late teenage years. So this is 16 to 19. Possibly 20. I'm not sure. I have to go back and read that, but it was late teens. So remember I said when you turn 16 in Tales from the Loop, the regular version, once you hit 16 years old in that, your character is done. That is it. They're retired. You will have to make a new character. That is one of those rules that we can't force you to do it, but it is 100% strongly recommended that anybody that's 16 or older, they're cut off from the group because you are now disconnected from the mysteries of what's going on. But if you still have that character, you have Things from the Flood, and this is more in the 90s. And so we go from that kind of weird science and Cold War aspects of the 80s into the horror of the 90s. A lot more scarier and a lot more deadly than Tales from the Loop. Now, Tales of the Loop, one of the things I forgot to mention is that your kids, as your kids' characters, you will not die. It is not designed for you to die. Now, you can be broken, battered, in traction, but the idea of the game is not to kill kids. It is designed to solve mysteries and be a little bit more lighthearted than, say, Dungeons and Dragons or Call of Cthulhu. Now, in Things from the Flood, it's a lot more dangerous, but still on that same line. We're not trying to run a game here to kill characters. Can your game master and you as a group come together and say, you know what? Let's go ahead and add this element in there. We're going to make it difficult for you to die, but we could. You could. It kind of defeats the purpose of what this game is about and the immersion, but it's definitely possible. So they have it's essentially Things from the Flood is an entire new game system. It is essentially the teenage version of Tales from the Loop, the late teens. Your characters have scars, physical and mental, emotional scars. You have to deal with things like relationships, jobs, and that sounds boring, but it's not like, well, today my character is going to sit there and flip burgers. I'm just going to do that the whole session. It's not that. It is, hey, you got a call coming in. You need to go to work, but why are you, when you're wanting to go solve this mystery? And that's just one of those little challenges that you have to overcome. Use your charm, use your special, whatever your skills are, use your luck, your pride, whatever it is to overcome those challenges. So you don't have to micromanage and worry about all that kind of stuff, but that is what to expect. So think about those 90s horror movies, those teenage horror movies, and you'll know how to play your characters. So we are going to cover Things from the Flood a little later on. It's a lot more in depth, a lot darker. I would say a lot scarier from Tales from the Loop. So I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this review. I'm certainly excited about the TV show just from reading everything about the game. I have not played it yet. I'm looking forward to playing it. Mechanic wise, it's great. Story wise, it's great. It's just now find the right group to play with. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to do another review probably, definitely next week. I'm not sure which game we're going to do. Possibly Mutant Year Zero, or we're going to talk about Symborum. If you like dark, gritty, very deadly games, not Mutant Year Zero, but Symborum is definitely the game for you. And in fact, I think I just talked myself into that. Either that one or City of Mist. We're going to talk about those, one of those here next week. So anyways, my name is John. This is the evening edition, our RPG review of Tales from the Loop from Free League and the brilliant mind of Simon Stott. Oh man, I'm going to butcher his name. I'll just say from Free League Press. So you guys check it out. If you are interested in this game, you can go to DriveThruRPG right now, especially with the COVID-19 and businesses shutting down. Modifius.net is the one that is actually publishing this, the product for this game. They are not shipping anything out. If it's not at your local game store, you can go to DriveThruRPG right now. They have the digital PDF for this available at 50% off, just for a very limited time because the TV show is about ready to come out. They're essentially wanting to promote the game, so it's an excellent opportunity to secure this game now. I think that makes it like $12.50 for this digital download. So I'm going to highly recommend that you give it a whirl. If you like the game, leave me a comment. If you're on YouTube, definitely leave some comments about this. If you guys have any comments about how I'm doing the review, then please let me know, and I would love to be able to improve upon what we're doing here. So you guys have yourself a wonderful evening. I will see you probably tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central Time, as we cover more gaming news and the impact of the coronavirus across the world and how it affects your gaming industry. All right, you guys have a wonderful